Hey guys, what's going on? It is Wednesday, and if it is Wednesday, it is time for story time with Taffy. It's going to be a much more informal, conversational story time. A lot of you guys seem to be really interested in what goes on at a graduate school program, and while I can't speak for all of them, I certainly can speak with some authority on the one in which I currently live. Essentially, that's what I do, is I wake up, I go to school, I come home, I sleep so that I can wake up and go back to school. First and foremost, let me go ahead and give a formal introduction and welcome to all the new subs. If you're a handful of the thousands of Minecraft subscribers that have shown up recently, welcome to the channel. My name is Taffy. I'm the other half. Rob does all the editing. I do a lot of the writing and make sure that everything gets out there and into the world and into the webo streams. Once upon a time when we were much more FPS and PA important, I would go around getting musical permissions and book guests to play the game with us. As you may or may not have noticed, we are shifting away from COD and first-person shooters just because the game makes us angry. I still play it. I still pop on the old 360 once in a while with Evan Eckert and Grant. And in all honesty, there's probably a pretty good chance that I'll be picking up a HD PVR so that I can still record and post just kind of general gameplay from us pub stomping. And maybe even something along the lines of Grant and Evan and I and OBJ and all the fine fellows we play with doing random class generator challenges and whatnot. And while I still enjoy playing first-person shooters, and I'll never leave that, we've been watching a lot of Nanners and Hutch and Frankie on PC and 1080p and a lot of the Minecraft community, and the PC gaming community just seems like their blood pressure is lower, and we would like us some of that. Speaking of Trials Evolution, which is what Hutch and Nanners are playing right now, Rob and I are thinking about going after that a little bit, and Rob's got a couple of ideas for some Minecraft series in the works alongside with our hardcore Let's Play and the assload of Hunger Games that Wolf's been playing recently. We are going to blend more stuff in. If you've heard this message before, I apologize. Thank you for sitting through it again. DayZ, Trials, anything that we feel like picking up and throwing together. But for right now, it's Minecraft intensive. We'll be changing the background. Evan Eckert is hand drawing a background for us right now because he is a beast. But I majorly digress. Graduate school. If you are not from the States, education is set up like this. When you're a kid, you go to elementary school. When you're a kid whose voice is starting to change, you go to middle school. When you are a kid whose voice has started to change and you have pimples and a bad mustache, you go to high school. Once you've finished high school, you can either enter the workforce or you can go back to school and pay money for it this time and go to undergraduate, where you get your bachelor's degree or your associate's degree, which is a 2-year program. After that, you go out into the world like I did, you fail at what you chose to do for your bachelor's degree, and you say, damn, I need more schooling because I'm super broke. So you go back for a graduate degree, which is at least 2 more years of schooling. From there, you could get a doctorate, which would be like another 4 years on top of that. But for right now, I'm in the process of rededicating myself to academia to do one last career change from theater to advertising. The really cool thing that I'm finding is that advertising is just as much about theater and storytelling as theater was. There's just actual money in it. If you are an American student, especially if you're kind of like our audience where you're in high school or in undergrad and you're wondering about graduate school, let me explain it like this. When you are an undergraduate, you have 2-ish projects that are due every semester for your classes, like the big midterm thing that you have to write, that research paper or that presentation you have to give, and then the big final thing that's like once you're done with that, you go drink your ass off because you put it off for like 2 months, and then a week before it's due, you cram that thing together. Those kinds of projects are due every week in graduate school. Every week, multiple projects like that are due for multiple classes. And so you're just for 2 years, the school just owns you. And then your promise on the other side is that you will have a better chance at a career that does not make you want to walk into a river with a pocket full of rocks. Ultimately, and I'm sure that this is true of most graduate schools, they care more about your attitude than your grades. If you are trying to learn and trying to advance yourself personally because you have a drive and a passion to do so, that will get you through pretty well. I count myself among the people that had to get my mind right, because when I showed up, all I saw was more money, more money, more money. Because in all honesty, when I get out of this, what I'm told is that I'll start in the 50-ish $1,000 a year range, and that the top end of what I could be making is in like the $150,000 range, which is cool because for me it was a driving motivator to get me into the school and to actually take action to go back to school, because I was waiting tables and trying to act in theater and voiceover work and making like 30 grand a year as a server essentially. And when you have a wife and you have a kid, eventually you just get tired of being poor. Like the bohemian artist lifestyle loses its luster when there are 2 other people looking to you for for food that isn't provided by the government. But now that I'm in here and I'm in it, I'm realizing just like anything else you do in life, it's all about what you're putting into it and taking out of it, and not the expectations of being paid on the other side. If you just care and take pride in what you do, the money part kind of just takes care of itself. It's also tricky because the graduate school I go to is a creative graduate school, so the products that I create come from my twisted little imagination, which apparently is not twisted enough. Apparently I'm too traditional, like my old ass needs to loosen up and do some acid. I don't feel like I've done enough hardcore drugs to be a proficient writer at this point. Like at some point I'm going to need to go candy flip so that I can free my mind to let the big ideas out. My doorway's too narrow. I'm just kidding, I'm not going to go do drugs. But ultimately, I'm trying to do like exercises and read arts and books and literature and poetry that takes me to places that are uncomfortable for me so that I can try to let the big ideas through. So it's tricky for me because it's not like a graduate degree in paleontology or anthropology or sociology or business where there are definite right and wrong answers. We're graded on, is this cool? Which is daunting because cool is hard to do, especially when you're trying to do it on purpose. So much of what's cool is accidental cool, and we're getting paid on the other end to create cool. Like a company comes to us and says, we're Bank of America, or we're a beef jerky company, or we make shoes, or we sell life insurance. And we're really good at selling life insurance or jerky or shoes or homeowners loans, but we're not really good at being cool, so we would like to pay you to make us cool. And you go, oh, okay, well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take an elephant and we're gonna put it in a tutu and we're gonna make that into an app, and the kids will love it. Or, I mean, that's the ridiculously stupid version of what we do, but it's still kind of a version of what we do. Is we're getting paid to make companies famous, and then it's their job to deliver a product that makes people want to buy it more than once. So it's not necessarily as easy to know when you're done, except you step back and go, man, do I think this is awesome? And if the answer is no, then it's not awesome. And if the answer is yes, then you take it to your bosses and they say, yeah, this is pretty awesome. We'll take it and sell it. It also drives you to do some pretty strange things. So far, we've had one guy who had the cops called on him because he was going out to do an intellectual exercise where he was laying in the grass looking up the stars trying to figure out how to save NASA funding, and he got the cops called on him because the yard that he was laying in, I mean, it was a field, but it was like a yard for a really rich family, so it looked like a field, but eventually at the end of this field was a house, so that was a rich person's yard, and he was apparently laying in somebody's front yard looking up the stars when the cops showed up, and then he left his voice recorder on because he was keeping little mental notes, and he ended up recording the cops interrogating him, which was really fun. I almost got the cops called on me because we were shooting a short storytelling film that was about people who rob convenience stores, and we were filming holding up a convenience store when a lady with a stroller walked by, and she knew the owner of the convenience store and freaked out because she saw people in ski masks with fake guns. And I was in there with Stacy, who you may know from a bunch of our creative stuff. She does all of our female voices and is awesome. And we had to run outside and like pull our ski masks off and show her that the guns were fake, which was even more weird because then we saw her and turned and charged her, fake guns in hand, and we're like, hey lady, stop, wait, bring us your baby. At a place like this, if you are really far out there, if you're doing something that you can feel is weird, then you're kind of already on the right track, because at least it means it's going to be unexpected. So you're in a place where you're encouraged to take risks, and it's fun and it's rewarding, but ultimately people say, oh, what's graduate school like? It's a bunch of work. And I don't have any like really definitive stories because it really is just, it's a sweatshop of creativity right now, which is a cool sweatshop to be in, but I go and I read and I work and I write and I edit and I film and I voice record stuff, and I hope that in the end people go, that was really entertaining and now I really want to buy socks. I have to imagine that any graduate school is kind of like that, where it's just like you go and you work and you put together notebooks and notebooks of quantum theory, and you come out on the other side and go, here, I hope this is really informative, and now you want to buy physics. I'm not sure how I'm going to work it in. I'm not sure if I'll just put it in the end of the video or just put a ton of annotations up on the screen or down in the description, but I would love to lead you guys to some of the work that is being done by the VCU Brand Center students, both in academic settings and out in the real world in places like Google and for Mass Effect 3. It's really cool because ultimately I get to go to the places that make all the commercials that go viral. So anyway, this is, like I said, the more relaxed, casual, calm story time where I just kind of impart an opinion instead of telling you a legit full-blown story. I still have stories. You can recommend stories. You can recommend topics. I will grudgingly give advice. I've said before that I don't want this to become Mail Monday with Woody. I feel weird if I think that you think that I have answers, because I don't. I'm a very insecure 32-year-old man who seeks out teenagers on the internet to hang out with. You should always keep that in mind whenever you ask me for advice, is that I'm not right. It doesn't mean I'm not fun. It just means that maybe you shouldn't be making life decisions on the advice that I give you. That said, if you ask me a question, I will give you the best answer I can think of. Ultimately, we just wanted to keep Wednesday open for Taffy Day. Write whatever you want in the comments, and I will respond to it accordingly. Sometimes Wolf will be here, sometimes other people that are friends of ours will be here. Most of the time, it'll just be me using this as a sounding board. This episode is in the books, as always. Thank you for tuning in. On behalf of the Mr. Wolf's channel, this is Taffy, and I am